Hello internet people, long time no see. Lloyd from Historic Outdoors, and today we're in my kitchen and we're going to be doing some cooking. Haven't uploaded anything for a great long time. Been busy. That's kind of the way it works when you work 60-70 hour weeks. You don't have time to make YouTube videos, and of course the ones that you do make, because you got some firearms content, your channel, YouTube's not very good about sharing that with anyone. But anyway, we're in my kitchen today and we're going to be doing a Russian recipe, and I can't see any reason why that would get throttled or demonetized or anything like that. I mean, you know, how could it? All we're going to be doing is pickling tomatoes, because apparently that's a thing. So we got a whole bunch of tomatoes here, and we got some peppers and some spices, and we're going to make pickled tomatoes, which I don't know, I guess it's one of those Slavic dishes from the eastern part of Europe, popular in Russia and Eastern Europe and Ukraine. Like I said, I can't see any reason why YouTube wouldn't want that out there. It's good, wholesome family cooking. So anyway, we're going to get started here. Not much to this. The original recipe calls for paprika peppers, and I've never seen a paprika pepper in Canada. We can get like dried ground paprika, no problem. But I've never actually seen a paprika pepper in my part of the world. Not to say they don't exist, just saying I haven't seen them. And because, I don't know, you get older and your tolerance for spice tends to wane, I'm going to use these sweet peppers, and I'm going to use these cherry tomatoes. I grew a bunch of tomatoes in my garden last year, but they didn't last long. And these cherry tomatoes, they're greenhouse grown, and greenhouse grown produce is of dubious quality in my opinion. So we're going to pickle it, and because of the Trudonian dystopia that we live in, the pickles that we use today came to about 22 bucks Canadian, and this amount of peppers, oh, what's that? That's probably another $14 Canadian, and then we got some assorted spices that we're going to put in. So anyway, for what I'm doing, it's going to be about a $50 project Canadian. Like I say, when you put carbon tax on everything, and there's tax on the machines that pick the food and plant the food and grow the food, and then there's tax on the electricity for the place, and then there's tax on the trucker that picks it up and takes it to the plant that packages it, and then there's tax on the packaging plant, and then there's tax on the truck that takes it to the store, and then, well, you can see how food prices kind of add up. It turns out it wasn't the grocery store trying to gorge us or gouge us, it was tax all along. As they say, taxation is theft. So this is a recipe that you probably saw jars of this kicking around in some of the video games that are set in Eastern Europe, or specifically the one that I played. It was called Metro Exodus, and there's 3 games in it. So you're going around post-apocalyptic Russia, and every now and again you'll come across somebody's pantry, and they've got jars of pickled tomatoes in them. And I thought that was kind of cool. It looked like an interesting recipe to try, so that's what I'm going to do. They say when you pickle tomatoes that they have a tendency to explode inside the brine. I'm not sure if that is true for small-sized tomatoes like these cherry tomatoes, or if it's just the really, really large ones. But they say you can poke them with a toothpick, and that'll keep them from exploding. Well, I don't have any toothpicks, but I do have this leather awl, which I just sanitize by, you know, old school, dip it in some rubbing alcohol, light it on fire, and then, you know, dip it in some whiskey to get rid of whatever taste I created. And so I'm just going to take the tomatoes and, you know, poke a little hole in them and throw them back in. And I think we'll skip ahead in the video, because as, you know, entertaining as it would be for you to watch me poke 500 tomatoes, just for the brevity, I think we'll cut that part out and move on. So there were in fact only 139 cherry tomatoes, and I really kind of feel robbed, because I was hoping there would be more for, you know, 22 bucks worth. But anyway, and now I got to do these peppers, and these peppers kind of look like they've been drugged through a field of cow manure, so I'm going to give them a soak and a wash off, and then start chopping them up. So here I am sterilizing my jars. I've got a couple of 2-liter pickle jars. I buy my pickles specifically because of the jars. And anyway, I had some brewing sanitizer sitting in them for quite a while, and that knocked most of the original pickle smell out of them. And so now I've got them in a water bath here, and I'm going to boil those until the water's good and hot. Not sure how long it's going to take. It's going to eat up 3-4 gallons of water here. It's going to take a while anyway, and it might knock the labels off them. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, this is how I'm going to sanitize my jars. And unfortunately, these lids are just a little bit too small for mason jar lids. So I'm going to use the original lids, which are kind of stuffed down on the bottom there. And I'll probably do a double sanitizing on those. So after they come out of this, I will boil them again after inspecting them, make sure they're still good. And if they seal, they seal. And if they don't seal, well, I'll just eat it quicker. So as my jars continue to boil away over there, I'm going to process these peppers. And you can cut them how you want, but you know, most people cut them into rings. And you can use whatever kitchen knife you want. I don't know. I kind of like using my ulu here. Makes things faster. You can take the seeds out of them. You can leave the seeds in them. In fact, it's not going to hurt if you put 1 or 2 of these in whole. You can cut them lengthways. You can do whatever you like, but that's what I'm going to do. And then the stems, no reason you couldn't put them in, but I'm going to leave them out because why? So anyway, these sweet peppers, they're not very spicy. You know, the original recipe says you should put like a hot pepper in and a couple of paprika peppers and some bell peppers. Honestly, whatever peppers you like, use those, and whatever peppers you have, use those. The original recipe wants to put carrots in. I really like carrots, but due to, you know, age and dietary concerns, I can't really eat carrots anymore, so I'm not going to put carrots in. And I'm sure there's some 75-year-old grandmother in Eastern Europe that's like, no, you're doing it wrong. Well, yeah, maybe, but this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to like it. So instead of you watching me chop up all these peppers, we'll just skip along to the next step. So I got my peppers done, and I like doing them by hand. I kind of like banana peppers. I used to like them when I was younger. I put them on sandwiches and stuff, and I was always disappointed. The ones that were chopped up by the machine, you'd always get like a stem in them, and in the pickling process it would turn into something that tastes like wood, and I don't like popsicle sticks on my sandwiches. So the fact that I did them all by hand and I fished out all the stems. You can leave the stems in. Survival situation, you know, World War III comes, leave the stems in. You can eat around them, but I don't know. I've got some standards today, so I took all my stems out, and now I'm into processing garlic, and that's a little bit more fine motor control. Don't want to chop the ends of my finger off. Basically, it's pretty easy to get the skin off. I just like give it a whack, and then it just comes apart. It's pretty easy to do. And then you take your knife. I've seen people with fancy garlic peeling stuff. They have like little rubber pads and stuff, and it looks magical taking the skins off the garlic. But I just chop the blunt end off, and the big pieces peel really quite easy. And these little tiny buggers are considerably harder. I just kind of squish them with my fingers and then pinch the end off, and I don't know, they're hardly worth it, but waste not, want not, right? Chunk of garlic. So yeah, we got to do that. I guess I need like 30 pieces of garlic, but I don't really think that it matters. You use as much garlic as you think is necessary, I guess, or how much you like. If you like things to be more garlicky, then put more garlicky in. And if you like things to be less garlicky, put less garlic in. But at the end of the day, you're going to get some pickled garlic out of the deal as well. Some people like to eat that just as is. I typically fish the pickled garlic out and use it in other recipes. My palate is kind of working class and not very refined, so I don't know. difference between most of these things, which is probably why I'm interested in making like pickled tomatoes instead of some kind of fancy sauce or something. But anyway, that's what we got to do. We got a bunch of garlic we have to process, and through the magic of the internet and editing, you don't have to watch it. You get to see me pick up at the next step. I got my garlic done. I got my first jar cleaned up here. I did manage to knock the label off it, so that's good. And some of my bigger pieces of garlic, I chopped them up, makes it go further, so I got a couple left here. Save those for another project or another day. So yeah, basically all we're going to do is put spices in the jar, put the peppers and the tomatoes and the garlic in the jar, and we're going to mix up some brine, and then we're going to bring that all to a boil and a water bath, and well, we'll show you here. We'll get her going. The first thing that I'm going to do is kind of roughly divide my garlic up into thirds. If I'm going to do 3 jars, I got about 3 handfuls, so I'm going to put some garlic in the bottom of that jar. And then I've got some dill hanging up over here that I grew, but I'm gonna use fresh dill, which I bought, which is pretty cheap. Again, probably grown in a greenhouse, so it's of dubious quality. But it's probably better than my dried dill. I don't know that much about dill. But I'm gonna do 3 handfuls of that. So yeah, put that in there. Dropping some, throw that in there too. The original recipe says that you can put currant leaves in this, but my currants and gooseberries are under 3 feet of snow right now. I don't imagine there's too many leaves on them. So another recipe says that you can use cilantro. So I'm going to divide that up into about 3 handfuls as well. Apparently with the currant leaves, you're just looking for tannins, I guess. And I don't know if you get that in the cilantro or not. But it said we can use it, so we're going to stuff some in there. So here we got 2 handfuls of cilantro left. I even saw a recipe that says you could use oak leaves. I don't know if that would be so good, but I don't know. Somebody somewhere must have tried it, and somebody somewhere must have liked the results, but it's not what we're going to do. So we'll put our dill away until we do the next bottle. What else have we got here? We got some peppercorns. I haven't got that many peppercorns left, but it says you can put some in, so these are the red, white, and black ones. So I'm going to put about that much in. And then my old 1990s spaghetti jar that I saved, because I saved jars, I'm going to put some bay leaves. Apparently some people have bay leaf trees and they can just go out back and get some bay leaves. I don't know how many to put in. I'm not going to follow the recipe that closely. I don't think they do that much. Maybe they do more if they're fresh off the bay leaf tree, but these are dry. And they're probably pretty old, being at my house. So I'm going to put a bunch in. If you watched my Tushonka video, which I tried to make sort of funny, I said if you don't have bay leaves, you can use a cigarette. I do not recommend, but then I am a truck driver, not a comedian. So we're going to put some handfuls of tomatoes in this jar, and then we're going to put some, I should be using my canning funnel is what I should be doing, but oh well, we'll get her done. And some more tomatoes. I might not have to use all 3 jars. I might only have to use 2. Whenever I've seen pictures of this concoction, it always looks really, really pretty and everything's perfectly matched in there. like someone's grandmother lovingly did it. But that's not what's going to happen here. So we'll drop the tomato. I think I got more peppers than I do tomatoes, so I'm going to go a little heavier on the peppers here. There we go. And we're going to pack that up to about that depth. You know, there's a hole in it. Give it a good twist and a good shake, and there we go. Now we're going to dump brine on top of that. So again, through the magic of editing, I'm just going to skip ahead until we get this done, and then I'll show you how we make the brine. So due to a mathematical error, I ended up with 2 jars of this stuff instead of 3, but I always sanitize a jar or 2 more than I think I'm going to need. It's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. So onto the brine. Calls for like about that much sugar. I don't know. I don't use sugar. I can't eat it, but I'm going to use it in this recipe. So it calls for like 6 spoonsful, which is about that much. Calls for about the same amount of salt. So might have to add more salt. This box is getting low, but I got 2 others over there. Oh, here comes some. That's about half of what I need. Anyway, I'll put the rest in after the fact. And calls for 3/4 cup of vinegar. I don't know, you can find recipes for this stuff online. About a 3/4 cup, maybe a bit more then. And then it calls for 6 cups of water, which is about what my kettle holds. And that's your pickling brine. I don't know why you couldn't put pickling spice in this. I got some pickling spice over there. What's that? 6 cups, about 1.5 liters. So a bit more. My water's got a lot of limestone in it, so it turns my kettle weight. But anyway, so now I'm going to put like a little bit more salt in this. And we're going to bring this to a rolling boil on the stove. You don't need to see that. It's boiling water. How interesting could that be? And then we're going to put it in the jars and finish this up. So while we're waiting for the brine to boil, if you didn't want to go through all this spice stuff, I mean, you can buy these packs pickling spice in Canada, and there's no reason why you couldn't put some of that in if you wanted. You can buy bags of dillweed in Canada, but for the price of this stuff, you're just as good to go out and buy fresh. Like here where I'm at in Nova Scotia, you can get like fresh herbs at the Sobeys for like $2.50, enough to do this. So, you know, it was like $5 for my cilantro and my dill. And, you know, arguably you get a lot more in this, but it isn't fresh. But anyway, do whatever you like, I guess. It's, you know, it's not rocket surgery. You're making food. I like to work with fresh stuff if I'm going to be making a video, but you know, in a bad situation, a hurricane comes through, power goes out, power stays out for 6 months. Might not be a bad idea to have some of this on. You know, you get a bumper crop of tomatoes that you want to turn into pickled tomatoes to keep them through the winter because the power company can't get, you know, your power back on because of reasons. Yeah, it's a good idea to have some of this stuff on hand. I got 2 extra boxes of salt over there. You know, they harden up over time, but you just beat on them with a stick. So it's a good idea to have some of this, you know, survival situation stuff around, have some of these skills, and then whenever you want, you can put some of this stuff together. When this is done, this is going to last a long time. A long time's a long time. So, yeah, you got a few jars like this kicking around. That'll, you know, how many tomatoes can one man eat? But if you had nothing but, you know, that'll keep you alive for a week. And you know, if you had some of the tushonka that I made, and pickled eggs, and all of this easy stuff to make, these are good things to have. You know, it's not always the Red Army coming to town, or the Germans are marching into your village. Sometimes, you know, a hurricane comes through and the power goes out for a long time. A couple hurricanes ago, I was in Antigonish, and you know, they were selling generators off the back of a tractor trailer, cash in hand, and you know, the hydro was out, the ATMs were out, people had to drive 200 kilometers to get to the ATM to get their cash. So, you know, these are some of the things that you might want to think about living in a climate like Canada or other places where there's wind and rain and snow, like most of the northern hemisphere. which is why Russian and Eastern European grandmothers come up with ideas like pickled tomatoes. So anyway, my brine is a-boiling, and I'm going to go stir it for a few minutes, and then we'll ladle it in and wrap this up. So the brine's all done. You can tell by the steam. Hopefully you can see it on camera. I guess it doesn't matter if you do or if you don't. So I got about 1.5 liters of brine here. We got 2-liter jars. If I was a smart man, I'd be using my canning funnel, but I am not a smart man, so I'm just going to ladle it in there. Canning funnel, for those that don't know, I'm assuming most of you know what a canning funnel is. It's a funnel and you use it for canning, but it's got a big wide mouth, so the funnel part is big and wide, and the mouth part is big and wide, and it cost about $10. And I didn't need this much brine at all. It's better to have too much than too little. And it doesn't look like I'm spilling any. And as I say that, I spill some. So normally when you're canning, you want to leave 1 inch of headspace. And 1 inch, well, that's about your knuckle. So there's one of those. And in a perfect world you would have brand new lids. I do not have brand new lids because it's not a perfect world. We live in a Trudonian dystopia, remember? This is survival food, so we're going to make do with the old ones, which we have washed thoroughly. And maybe I did need this much brine. See, maybe the recipe knew better than me. Maybe I'm not going to have enough brine. If that's the case, I'm just going to top up this second one with some hot water. And always wear gloves or oven mitts when you do this stuff, because this cast iron pot is hotter than the hubs of hell, as my grandfather would say. So I'm going to just try to dump the rest in here, because we don't necessarily want to go get our gloves. There we go. So yeah, where's our brine level at? Brine level's at about here. So I'm going to just top that off with a bit of hot water from the kettle and call it a day. So if we have learned anything from this experiment, when making brine, some of it will evaporate. So add liberally to your recipe for your brine, I would say. But don't add liberally to your salt, sugar, and stuff like that. So that's what I've taken away from this. So our kettle has boiled. You're probably wondering, Lloyd, you're doing all this historic cooking. How come you're not using that historic copper kettle over your shoulder? Well, it's because I'm lazy. This is fast, this is easy. And I think I add a little bit of water to this one too. And in a perfect world, you want all of your things that you're pickling to be below the level of your brine. But again, I probably had a few too many things, so maybe it doesn't seal, maybe it does seal, maybe it lasts forever. Well, I'll tell you, it's not going to last forever because I'm going to eat it as soon as it's ready. So anyway, those are on there. She is filled with brine. Actually, looks pretty faithful to things that I have seen pictures of this. I've never done this recipe before. It's first for me, first for you watching me. So next step, we're going to water bath this, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to put these jars in a big pot, cover them with water, and boil the crap out of it for a long time until these seal. So that's the final step. And I'll put my kettle away. So here we are with our pickled tomatoes in the water bath. which is just a really big, 4 or 5 gallon pot, whatever it is. Probably 3 gallon, 3, 4, I don't know. It's a big pot. And it fits those jars in it. And you'll see that under the water there, I've got a kitchen towel. And that is just to make it so the jars don't break. Sometimes when you're boiling, bubbles form, and bubbles can form underneath of your jar, and it rattles them around, and you don't want to crack the bottom. And anyway, so if you put a kitchen towel under there, oh, there's a bubble now. Put a kitchen towel under there. That's gonna keep them from rattling around and cracking and breaking, and it's also going to diffuse the heat underneath of them, so the bottom tomatoes are not going to be cooking and being turned into pasta sauce on you, because that towel is going to act as an insulator. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and we got to wait for this water to come up to boil, which it is quickly starting to do. So I managed to lose or break the top of my giant pot, which was glass, which means I probably broke it and forgot. But my mixing bowl fits. So yeah, in a dystopian world, you got to make do with what you got, right? So there you have it, internet people. We're all done. We got our tomatoes and stuff in the jars. We put them in the water bath. We kept them there for 15 or 20 minutes. I want to do a minimum of 15. If I was putting meat in it, I would do more. Sometimes I go as high as 90. Just depends what you're doing, but this recipe calls for a grand total of 15 minutes, and I kept it in there a bit longer, but it takes some time for the water to get up to temperature. And so you might be wondering, why are your jars upside down, Lloyd? Well, it just helps them to seal. So all of the weight is going to be on the bottom, all the heat is going to be on the bottom, and as those cool, the lid's going to seal, and then it's going to last for a goodly long time. And these two jars are a little bit overpacked, but that's not going to matter, because one's going to go on the shelf, one's going to go straight in the fridge, and I'm going to start eating out of that. And they're going to last long enough for my purposes. But if you want these to last for years and years and years, then yeah, leave that inch of headspace that I was talking about at the top. So anyway, that's all we're doing for today. I apologize for not having uploaded a video in quite some time, but it's very, very difficult with my work schedule to do those kinds of things. And then YouTube is up to their shenanigans, I guess. If you're a pretty girl, you can make like cleaning videos, partially dressed, and you'll get millions and millions of views. But if you got any firearms content in your channel, you're pretty much done. And I'm just not going to stop. And then, of course, I had some firearms in the safe that I was going to do some reviews on. And the Canadian government said, well, you're not allowed to have those anymore, even though you've had them for years. But so anyway, I didn't get those videos done, but I had a day off today, and I'm not gonna fail to make use of a sick day from work. So anyway, we made some pickled tomatoes, and next time I get a chance, I'll do another video, whether it's here in the kitchen or outside doing something or something historical. You never know what I'll come up with. I thought about just sitting at my desk looking at the camera and yelling about the state of the world, but, well, I don't know, there's hundreds of people doing that, so if I ever do that, I don't know, I'll have to come up with a better reason in my head. So I guess I'll just keep doing the kinds of things that I like to do. And if you like the kinds of things that I do, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And, subscribe to the little channel, share my stuff if you think it deserves a share. And as always, if you don't like my stuff, share it with your enemies, and I will punish them for free. So there you have it, internet people. Jar's sealed. When you push down on it, it doesn't pop back up. So just because you don't have new lids doesn't mean you can't use the old ones. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing.